Good morning, everyone. Just setting the timer for myself for the 24th of July, 1983. I've got three readings, which are all connected and are from Gnostics. The first one, without knowing it, had we not been brought to where we stood by a certain kind of faith? For did we not believe in our own reasoning? Did we not have confidence in our ability to think? What was that but a sort of faith? Yes, we had been faithful, abjectly faithful to the God of reason. Now, I was talking to uh, uh, Dan this morning, not the Dan that's here, the other. Oh, no, he is here, Dan of this parish. Um, this morning about this, and it struck me as a good topic. What is reason? Reason is when I look at a situation. So, for instance, my work situation, and I'll gather the facts as I think they are. I'll assemble them into a picture. I'll figure out what's going on. I'll decide if it's good or bad, and then I'll devise an action plan based on it. And when I'm upset about anything, I've done exactly that. I've taken what I think are the facts of the situation. I've concluded this shouldn't be happening. This is wrong. This is bad. Whenever I'm upset, I'm right. I always think I'm right. Of course, I'm not right, but I think I'm right. As soon as I think I'm wrong, that's the end of the upset. As soon as I'm wrong, I've cut off the branch I'm sitting on. There's no basis to be upsetting. The truth of any situation is I only have available to myself a fragment of the facts. I know very little about what is going on in the world. The world is a very big place, and my eyes are very small. They can only see a small part of things. I certainly can't see the future. I can't see how all of these facts are going to interact with each other between now and the rest of time. My reason itself is flawed. What I see as going on is often not what is actually going on. Even the things in front of me, I'm apt to misinterpret and misunderstand. And certainly my values are skewed because I can be very self-centered. As people who are unfortunate enough to receive phone calls from me will attest, I'm extremely self-centered on occasion. On occasions, a movable feast, that can be a very broad scope of situations. And there's another line, this is the second reading. Neither is reason, as most of us use it, entirely dependable, though it emanates from our best minds. Now, we're in a sort of catch-22 situation in we agnostics because it's undermining our reason all the way through, and all I have to do is look at the results of me living based on self-will, me living before I got to AA, and frankly, me living since I've got to AA. I should not trust my reason, but the book asks me to trust reason just one last time. Look at the people who trust God. Look at the people that don't, who is doing better. I mean, maybe generally, but certainly in AA, and honestly in AA, the totally God-reliant people are the ones, they have what I want. The rest, very nice, I'll sit next to you at curry, but you probably don't have what I want. And it's very judgmental of you. Yes, it is. Because one's got to exercise some judgment. AA is monkey see, monkey do. You've got to judge which monkey to see and imitate. So there is a little bit of judgment. It's not condemnation, but it's discern. Who has what I want? If you have what I want, then I should be willing to go to any lengths to get it. If you want what we have, you do what we did. So for one last time, I'm asked to employ my reason in step 2 and say, you know what? I need to bet on God. Except betting on God is very difficult. Specifically because there are no guaranteed outcomes. The future is by its nature uncertain. Throughout a lot of my life, circumstances have looked bleak. Well, that turned out to be wrong. I turned out to be going in exactly the right direction, being guided by a God who knew exactly where he was leading me. I've got to trust God in a state of uncertainty, but a degree of certainty is required. In other words, you have to do one thing or another. You have to listen to the voice of the ego, self, the devil, whatever you want to call it, or you have to listen to the voice of God. It's one or the other. The action is one or the other. I have to plump either one side in favor of self-reliance. I'm going to figure out how to fix my work situation like there's a problem with it. Or number two, what God has been saying to me recently is, you're not very bright, dress well. Uh, show up at work, do some actions all day long, go home at the end of the day. If you run out of things to do, I'll let you know. I'll give you some extra things to do. I've never run out of things to do. There is literally no problem. I've got to plump one side or the other. But my understanding always falls short of what is required, the certainty of action that is required. Faith is what bridges the gap between my perception of what is going on and the certainty of action that God is inviting me towards. And the reason why this is urgent, it's urgent when alcoholism is knocking at the door, but frankly, it becomes urgent emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, whichever one of those accurately describes the predicament of the moment. I've got such a low threshold for unhappiness. That becomes the self-imposed crisis. I just need to do one thing or the other. Obsess about the problem or let go, trust God. So this is the third quotation. When we became alcoholics crushed by a self-imposed crisis we could not postpone or evade, we had to fearlessly face the proposition that either God is everything or else he is nothing. God either is or he isn't. What was our choice to be? And that's from the Big Book of Course, chapter 4. And so my basic MO at the moment, as the devil has been knocking on the door when it comes to my perception of work. As I said, there's nothing wrong, but the little voice has been telling me that there is. A friend of mine said the reason sometimes you get tempted is because you're actually doing pretty well. The devil doesn't care about people who are on his side. They're already in the bag. He's after the lost sheep of the people who are actually really trying to do God's will. And that has made a lot of sense in my life. I'm most assailed by negative thinking at times when I'm actually doing the best. It's a very strange thing. It's eerily quiet when I'm full of self-will. It's eerily quiet because I got this. The devil knows I'm on his side, so he doesn't bother me. He goes and bothers someone else. Anyway, my basic MO at the moment is really straightforward. Every day I go up to the boardroom. That's where God is in session. The board has only one member, which is God. I'm the minute taker at the meetings of the executive board. And there are 7 screens in that room telling us all what's going on. And they cover the past, the future, world, other people, me, my life, and the results. And they get glanced at once a day. I say to God, what do you want me to do? And I write down what he says. And then my job is to leave the boardroom and to leave those 7 screens behind. And whenever I'm tempted to try to patch myself into the boardroom, to look at what's going on with the past, the future, the world, other people, me, my life, or the results, I'm to bring myself back to the task at hand. Because I'm not smart enough, my reason is not reliable enough. I've needed to take the faith that I had in my ability to understand what is going on and just shift that across instead to God. I cannot rely on myself. Common sense is no good for people like me because it's too flawed and the stakes are too high. That's why I need what it talks about in Bill's story as uncommon sense. So with 11 seconds to go, I'm going to stop there. Thanks for listening.